Welcome back to New Day, and it's time to look at what the papers are saying. Also, we'll pick a story or two from our website, tv3network.com. So, to the Daily Graphic newspaper story that, has been trending from Friday, Saturday, thereabout. It says here, the biggest story on the front page of the Daily Graphic says here that fugitive arrested, and that's the picture of Arthur Simpson Kent, murder of Sian Blake, EastEnders star. Unfortunately, that girl had a tragic life, and her life as well ended tragically. So, arrested, he allegedly murdered girlfriend, 2 children in London. Police quiz 4 over cantonment shooting incidents. Also captured. Government clears 3.8 billion statutory debts. Government clears 3.8 billion statutory debts. We'll talk more about that. Also, the Business and Financial Times newspaper says here that salaries guzzle tourism budgets. Salaries guzzle tourism budget, and BOG declares more probe of microfinance institution, MFIs. I believe they withdrew the licenses of some 70 of them last week. The news was that. Okay, so Union SNL gets banking license. Commercial. Okay. The back page here says that social interventions hurting Common Fund, also on the Business and Financial Times. The Friday newspaper says fuel taxes to bag 3.9 billion cedis. Fuel taxes to bag 3.9 billion cedis, and it gives a breakdown, where that's coming from, where they are, and what is likely to be used, clearing of debts, we're told. Business Day newspaper says here that Ghana's petroleum tax highest in the world. Ghana's petroleum tax highest in the world here, and insurance penetration lowest in financial sector. Insurance penetration lowest in finance. That's the Business Day newspaper. The Ghanaian Times newspaper has the same story as captured by the Daily Graphic. It says here that murderer grabbed, and assembly hands for game reserve meat eaters, and smuggling of fuel on the increase in Upper West. Smuggling of fuel on the increase in Upper West. Quick one, from the Today newspaper here says, KMA is broke, misappropriation galore, depriving over 30 EAs, really, of budgeted for projects. Okay, of budgets for their projects. MCE's Ethiopia attitude, also captured by Today newspaper. And the Daily Guide newspaper will be my final paper for the month. It says, UK wife killer grabbed at Busia Beach, and taxi driver crashes Kuala robbers. A very heroic displayed by the taxi driver. That will do for the newspapers. Now, let me introduce my guest. To my left is a member of Parliament for Ifutu, Honorable Alex Apanyoma King. Good morning to you. Good to have you join us.
And Happy New Year. This is the first time
I know. Yes. All right. Thank you. Prosperous 2016.
The best of the year. A peaceful election.
Yes, absolutely. All right. And Deputy Minister Communication, Felix Fosu-Kwache, also here. Good morning to you as well. And
good morning.
Yes, I've seen you in the New Year.
Exactly.
So, right,
I said that I was going to remark that Alex's wish for a peaceful New Year has not been matched by the rhetoric of some of his own party members. So the MPP has to be consistent on exactly what they want for the year.
Oh, you didn't know those.
Oh, but it's necessary. I'm sure we'll go into it when we talk about the register.
All right, then. And of course, we have Dr. Francis Ejeni. Oh, nice. Are you related to Ejeni Mboasi?
No.
Not at all.
I haven't even met him before.
All right, that sounds like, okay. He's a dean, Ghana Telecom University College. A very good morning to you as well, and welcome as well. So, like the papers, I want to start off, we're so biased to the Daily Graphic newspaper. So I'll start off with the Daily Graphic newspaper. I don't know if you've been following the story, Ms. Apanyoma. The security agencies have done well. He's on the loose Western region. It looks like very, unassuming place. So people could go and hide there. But Interpol and they work together and they have good.
Well, first of all, let me commend Ghana Police for a good job done. My only concern is that whereas this demonstrates their capacity to actually go deep down to arrest such perpetrators of heinous crimes. It also appears that they only demonstrate same when same appears to be international in nature, or that there is some international collaboration. So I would want to see the Ghana police going forward being able to deal with such matters locally as well with such speed. Okay, because of course there are times that people express such concerns that look, there are reported crimes that people, the suspect or the accused persons are right here in Ghana in a hideout, and it takes so long before they arrest or they never get arrested. Looking at this man's situation, I think I saw on social media even footage of his arrival and all that.
At the airport.
So the question that any person would want to ask, looking at the speed, that is it because the UK authorities came here and put pressure on our security agencies, thereby leading to the rather speedy arrest and all that?
You're a lawyer, so you can tell us. Could that also be one of those that you can hazard?
I'm looking at it generally.
Okay.
But there is sufficient evidence to suggest, looking at the past arrests, that any time there is some international involvement, the police is able to work with some speed. It appears to me so. Because the person, either the victim is a foreigner or the person involved, the suspect is a foreigner, then of course the embassies will be here to make input, or perhaps because there is some international connection to it, the police is able to demonstrate, to prove it, make a point that look, we have the capacity, we'll do it.
But you'd also agree that, Interpol, connects about over 100 countries. So there's that, when that system is in that force, it's a lot easier.
Yes, let's get it this way. With Interpol, it is still the local capacity. I am interested in capacity. Okay. And I'm saying that with what the police has done, they have demonstrated capacity, competence, professionalism, no doubt. But I am looking at, because the general question people would ask is that, wow, the man came all the way at Busia Beach, and it wasn't as if he was having fun at the beach and he was just arrested. If you read the story, it was a collaboration with the chiefs, people, individuals, people, locals. I'm saying that we have similar situations that are local in nature. I think somewhere last year, there were people who were lamenting. I think somebody petitioned IGP that the daughter was murdered by a boyfriend and it is taking 5 years. Okay? And they've not been able to arrest such a person. We have crimes committed. We have a DC.
Was that evidence, right?
Yes, I'm making a point.
Okay.
That we have had the DC be murdered cold blood. Okay? And whoever did it has not been arrested yet. I am saying that whereas we are commending the police for speedily arresting this or looking at their commendable conduct, it is important for us to look at it on the flip side. Okay. That where there is no international involvement, we expect similar motivation, to get them to deliver same with such speed. That's all.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. Doc, I want to pick your thoughts on it. I don't know if you follow the story. He's, alleged to have murdered his girlfriend, 2 sons, buried them in a backyard garden and the like. And she's, popular TV star. EastEnders is a very popular TV show in the UK and the like. And, found his way in Ghana. And the police, like he said, they have the capacity. They tracked him with the help of the locals, I must say.
Thank you very much. I think my wife will be very, very disappointed to hear this news, because she's one of the women who used to watch EastEnders a lot.
Yeah, but she wasn't even a liked character. She was playing the other woman. Yeah. So she used to receive hate mails, threats, murder, and the like. So
yeah. So sorry to my wife, because I used to call her EastEnder.
EastEnder. Ah, she's a fan. She's a big fan.
Yeah, she was a big fan, and now she's moved to Telemundo. So there is always a fight over remote, whether I should watch my English Premiership or Telemundo. Okay. All right, that's a very sad story, but it also shows some lapses in both systems. Okay. Because for UK, don't let us only look at our side. For them to have allowed somebody who is a suspect to travel, then there is a lapse in their system. And in Ghana, the police have done well. I think the police have improved over the years, for the past few years, I've seen very significant improvement in police operations. They look quite smarter than they were before, and they are on the streets of Ghana. What I will agree with Honorable is the fact that the commitment to deal with local issues. Okay. It appears equally to me that when it comes to international involvement or an international suspect, we move very, very fast. But then when it comes to local issues and somebody has murdered someone, then I really don't know where the motivation is coming from. Okay, all right.
Well, Doc, even before you continue, I just want to come in here that, for instance, I mean, you're talking about, it was just the man we were looking for, right? Yeah. If you talk about local murder, say crime scene, I mean, you've got to go in with, I've forgotten the powder they use, you've got to go in with certain equipment. So is it that they lack equipment? Because you've got to gather evidence, not just evidence that you can examine with science, right? It could that also be
You are talking about forensic evidences.
Forensic evidence is absolutely.
Yeah, I think that is very, very important, and maybe that should also take me to education to talk about the fact that we've not trained people enough to do forensics for us in the country.
We have the best forensic lab, I think, in West Africa, actually.
Do we?
Yes, yeah. We do. Forensic lab.
Then I'm a bit disappointed. And where is it?
At the
How is it being used? Is there any university in Ghana that does forensic studies?
Okay.
You see, we need to train our own people to deal with local issues. We may have the best forensic lab, that is just equipment sitting there and a building. If we don't have the manpower to deal with these issues, sometimes it is out of a lack of knowledge in this that the police are unable to do their work. Because if they are given the tip-off and they don't have the skills, they have not been properly trained, they won't be able to do it. I'm beginning to suspect that is one of the reasons the skills that the Interpol and the foreign nationals will bring in, that is what is helping to arrest these international suspects quite speedily.
Felix, let me get your thoughts on, the final capture of the fugitive.
What is not in doubt is that the police have covered themselves in glory in this instance. I mean, this is top-notch police work. It is world-class. Without a shadow of doubt also, let me say that the police deserve full marks. And nothing at all can be taken away from their work. It is not because of the involvement of Interpol. Of course, police work thrives on information and intelligence. So to the extent that you are made aware of the facts of a particular case, you are able to move in. Indeed, on Saturday, I believe, the police held a press conference. They paraded or was it yesterday? They paraded the suspect. And they took the public through the steps leading up to his arrest. And it showed clearly that once they received information from their British counterparts, in a matter of 48 hours, they were able to mount surveillance and hone in on the gentleman and arrest him. In fact, Alex raised the issue of the man's photograph and footage. Indeed, that footage was taken at the Kotoka International Airport, and it was available within hours. So these things have not happened.
But do we have same,
Absolutely.
There seems to be, the general consensus, at least from both guests here, is that there seems to be a certain lackadaisical attitude.
Again, that is not correct. That is not correct. I was coming to that. You see, the police, and Doc rightly pointed out that there's a visible improvement in the work of the police.
Okay.
And that has not happened in a vacuum. It is because they have been resourced to do so. The police on their own won't be visible if they don't have the necessary guidance. You mentioned the modern forensic lab, which they have. Now, they boast of very powerful vehicles. I mean, in the last 3 years or so, they've had over 1,400 four-wheel drives.
Yeah, but what's equipment when the men themselves, are not trained?
But again, who says they are not trained? I'm struggling to understand where that view is coming from. Why people will say that they are not trained. Police recruits, people are recruited into the police service. They are given police training, and depending on which branch of the police you go to, you receive appropriate training.
Yes, but I have spoken to forensic scientists who have said that, look, for every crime, for instance, murder, something happens in the community, somebody, even if it's suicide, they're supposed to go there with a forensic scientist. But it doesn't happen. This is for forensic scientists. Actually.
Again, well, if I stand to be correct, but I'm aware of a course in the University of Cape Coast in forensic science. So it is not entirely accurate that we don't have an institution that trains such people. Indeed, my own house was burgled a few months ago. The police came there with forensic gadgets, and they smeared all sorts of powders. No, but the equipment is available. If the equipment was not available, they wouldn't be able to carry it to my place. I don't think that they discriminate.
I think the availability.
But if you let me land,
Okay.
I don't think that the police discriminates.
Okay.
So it is unfair to say that they don't have what it takes.
Oh,
they have demonstrated that they have what it takes. Sure. Their numbers have improved. So let us give credit where it is due. Again, it is not accurate that they don't give the same attention to local stories. Okay. Well, he mentioned the murder of the Nkwanta. It's a matter under investigation. We all know that even in advanced countries, there are some murders that run cold. Why? At least I can cite two. Cases. When political violence broke out in the MPP and the Upper East Regional Chairman was murdered, within a few hours, they arrested suspects. As I speak to you, the suspects are standing trial. Sure. When the other MPP supporter was murdered at Asawasi, how long did it take before the police rounded up suspects? And I believe that that matter is either in court or is still under investigation. Sure. And there are many, many examples that can be cited. In fact, as far back as 1998, you recall the Ablekuma murders of Kweku Ninja. You recall that incident. How long did it take the police to investigate to find out that the gentleman had actually been buried under concrete? The police was able to detect and exhume the body and investigations, and they arrested people who were convicted for that heinous crime. Indeed, I think about 2-3 years ago, the last suspect in that case was arrested and convicted. So the track record of the Ghana police is there. But you see, sometimes... But
it could also be that, sometimes it's the crimes that sort of gain media attention.
No, it is not. You see,
because of who is involved, because of whatever.
And you are close to the police, so you would know. Check the crime statistics. You will find that sometimes in a year there are about 200,000 crimes. Not every crime gets reported.
Sure.
And so even when it is resolved, you may think that no attention has been paid. But they are high-profile crimes. They are high-profile because of sometimes the personalities involved and the attention that the media gives to them. But in these instances, there's evidence to show that the police have been on top of their game. They have received the necessary support from government. They are well-equipped. And they stand to perform even better if we support them. And from the point of view of government, we are prepared to give them the support that is required. But you see, the thing I worry about sometimes is the unfortunate cynicism that we adopt in this country. We tend to run down our own institutions instead of giving them support and encouraging them. We tend to run them down because of one or two instances. Look, everywhere in the world, there are issues with the way that policing is conducted. And Doc, you have stayed in the UK. I'm sure you came across many.
In the US.
Yeah,
I mean,
we've seen police brutality. They've been criticized for how they handle certain people from certain racial backgrounds and all that. So there are problems everywhere. But by and large, I don't think that any objective analyst.
But they must be spoken about to get them to get better.
You see, I don't think that any objective analyst can say that the police have not upped their game, that they don't turn out in a more impressive fashion these days. Why? Over the holidays, they mounted surveillance at the various shopping malls. They showed presence in order to assure Ghanaians of their peace and security. I think we need to recognize this and commend them for it.
Before we'll get to talk about the fuel taxes, the final newspaper story, the fuel taxes to back 3.9 billion cedis. I'm sure Felix will share more with us and what would go into the how the money will be used and the like. But we'll go to tv3network.com, and a story. The former chairman or suspended chairman Paul Afoko spoke to hot issues. So we'll just listen to that and come back and discuss that before we talk about the fuel taxes.
There are several factors. Some of them I am still gun shy about saying them in public. But I can say for certain that some of it is just prejudice. You're prejudged and that's it. Factionalism within the party. I described it several times in party meetings that this is factionalism gone mad. And that's how I see it. The message of reform, I believe, is also another thing they didn't want to hear. Nobody wanted to hear anything about reform. Steady as she goes, let's continue as we are. And I, in talking to the party, stated that I did not see how we could win power without reviewing everything that we've done so far, looking at ourselves, developing a proper strategic game plan, and that would involve some changes. And I think that the history of change, even for the English, even for them to get the signing of the Magna Carta, King John took an arrow in the eye in the Battle of Hastings. That's how bad it is. People just resist change. And in resisting change, they go mad about it. All that we need to do is already there. It's staring us in the face. It's staring us in the face. Let's go back to the Supreme Court, and we get told by Afarijan, the message he was given at the time, we didn't want to hear that. Polling stations. That's where victory lies, polling stations. And that's why I sent that 10,000, 100 million old cities to every constituency to get them working. That was the purpose. And we're going to continue to invest more in those polling stations. That's where we win or lose. So it's still there. It's possible, but for me to say that based on the confidence with which I walked out of that stadium in Tamale, telling everybody that by March, end of the first quarter of 2016, even NDC will hands up and say, it's gone. We don't have it anymore. Power is slipped. That certainty is no longer there. It's a toss-up.
Right, so that's the story making headlines. If you go to tv3network.com, you have an extensive extensive story and other angles to it as well. My panelists will get to talk more about it. I mean, from what Mr. Paula Afoko is saying, he's simply saying that he tried to review what has been done in the past, trying to put things in order, which made people uncomfortable, leading to his, well, let me axing. Your party is against, transparency, free, accountability.
Bridget, in a political party, people have the right to express their opinion on how matters are handled. What Mr. Afoko has done isn't the first ever in our political history. Let me take you back to memory lane. In 1999, thereabout, Reform Party came out of the NDC. Tritre Poku and Guzi Tando and others gave several reasons for moving away from their mother party. Indeed, they went on to form a party. It started as a reform group in the party. They also alleged that the NDC as a party was resisting certain reforms and all that, so they wanted to reform, change the way things were done in the party. The larger party said no. Of course, you can bring your ideas on board, but this is the way we want to go. Around 2002, the Obada Samoa group also wanted to carry out some reform, change certain things. Eventually, they were able to do certain things. They couldn't do it all until in 2006. The whole thing degenerated, and they had to leave the party to form the DFP. All right? In 2009, the NDC had won power, yet President Mills never had his peace of mind because there were still fundamental disagreement on the way the party was to be run. Eventually, Mrs. Ajiman Rawlings, Nana Konedu, formed her own party, NDP, out of NDC. So, reform, DFP, NDP, three of them. I do not want to give attention.
Mr. Paul Afoko has not formed the party. He is the chairman voted for by delegates.
May I?
Well, you've given, like you said, going back memory lane, and you've given us to the people who.
I'm laying the foundation for the submission I want to make. I'm saying that those who eventually formed the party, okay, started with views. But these views, no matter how compelling people felt seemed to be, never affected the process in DC.
Okay.
I am saying that Mr. Paul Afoko, a party man, I heard an extended version of the interview. He said that come November 2016, he will vote for Nana Akufo-Addo. He said that. This has not been played anyway. But he said that in the interview. He said he's a party man. He would campaign for his party. That was his conclusion. So with all his views notwithstanding, expressing dissent on a few things, he's concluded that he's a party man. I'm saying that, well, in a party, we would always disagree. In parliament, we disagree, even among ourselves. On their side, they disagree. But there is a core party principle, which all of us are supposed to subscribe. Felix is there as a deputy communication minister. As a junior officer in the government, he's not expected to get his views to have an overriding effect. As soon as his views overreach the overriding views of the government, I'm sorry, he'll be asked out of the government, no matter how compelling same may appear. So, yes, he's expressed his view. I would not say that he said so. Then, so I should answer the question of, is NDPP resisting change? Is NPP being run transparently? I'd say no, because the party has structures. This is a party that is run through collective decisions. The disciplinary committee is made up of prominent people in the party. Dr. Adukufo, can somebody dictate to Dr. Adukufo? Is that what somebody is saying? You have the likes of Reverend Asante, that bishop, the retired Methodist bishop, and many other prominent, my own brother and Leonard Senior, Otu, Ayukwe Otu, the former Attorney General, members of Parliament who are members of the committee. You come to Finance Committee, there's a structure. So it is clear that in the MPP, there are structures that are made up of people who would have to express their views on matters. So obviously, there may be disagreement. But what we have to bear in mind is that in the party, when there's a decision, it's a decision that is not made by one man. You may disagree. There are times that everybody in one way or the other may have certain problems with the party. But as we speak, there is an important agenda for us to pursue. That is to win 2016 election.
And he is an important member of that agenda, the party.
Don't worry. This thing isn't the first to happen to our party.
So
when I need to compare, because we shouldn't speak in absolute terms, my dear. Since you want to raise this, I would always also want to compare matters, because what is happening is not historical. The NDC, when they were going into 2008 election, there were prominent members of the party who felt that Atamus could not win, who publicly spoke against the way party affairs were being run, and that would not lead to their victory. Today, some of them are in government. I do not want to mention names, but the records are there. I am saying that, yes, Mr. Paul Afoko has his own views. I am not going into the merits or otherwise of his views. I am saying that the larger party is preparing.
But when you say his views, if he talks about...
No, you want me to comment on the views?
No, I mean, what he said here, well, views, but if he says, for instance, he sets up an account, the EcoBank account, where he said he was going to give 25,000, I believe, CDs to regional constituencies or branches and the like. I mean, those are not his views. Those are plans that he had, and they were going to do. And then he said when he was ready, the money had gone. I mean, are those views his views? Are those his views?
Bridget,
are those his views?
Very well. You've asked me a question.
Yes.
Let me answer you. As far as I'm concerned, and the report that I've cited, nobody has misappropriated certain funds from EcoBank. As far as I am concerned, and the report that I have seen. That is why I want to tell you that he has expressed a view. He was in office, and he met certain resistance, as he's put it. This party is a very big party. And like in all big parties, there may be people who have opposing views. The way he wants to run things, people may not agree, etc., etc. I'm saying that I would want to leave his views to him. I would not want to go into it. But I'm saying that the compelling mandate for us as a party now is to win election. Is to look at a barrel of oil at $147, which at the time of Kufuor was selling at 5.30, 5 cedi, 30 pesos a gallon in Ghana, and now that is at 38. It is selling at 16 Ghana cedis a gallon.
Right.
Those are the issues that to me are very fundamental. The tax hikes and the unemployment rate.
Your points as well.
Thank you
very much. All right. Felix Fosu-Kwashi,
Well,
I mean, for some people, I mean, Mr. Afoko, chairman voted for by delegates in the Northern Region. I remember the NPP delegates conference, so he had the mandates. But since he came in, he's received resistance. Eventually, they've suspended him. For some, they would say, well, is he not just bitter and then going, on and, casting doubts and, practically dimming the NPP's chances in the 2016 elections?
Yeah, I'll respond to that in a jiffy, but let me quickly dispel the false notion put across by Alex. He attempted to dabble in the oil propaganda of the NPP. Listen, at the time that the NPP was leaving office in 2008, oil was not $147 a barrel. The price of oil was $147 a barrel on 11 July 2008. After that, it stayed there for 3 weeks. It dropped to about $37 a barrel by 2008 when we went into the elections. Critically enough, the NPP did not reduce the price of fuel. They kept it at 5 Ghana cedis, even though there was a drop. The reason why they increased it to 5 Ghana cedis was that it had gone to 147. When the thing dropped to $37 a barrel, they did not reduce it until they lost, or they saw that they were going to lose the elections. When on 17 December or so, they doubled in a PR gimmick and reduced it by around 17%. So that fact must be put on record. Again, whilst they made the same argument in opposition in 1999, when they came to power, their first action was to increase the price of fuel by 64%. A few years down the line, they increased it by another 90.8%. So in terms of increasing the price of fuel, I don't think that the NPP can play politics with it. The facts are secret. But I'm sure when we come to the final story, we'll be able to discuss it in detail. Now, you see, Alex appears to be in breach of party discipline, because only last night there was some statement issued from the communications outfit that says that all NPP members and communicators are to refrain from speaking to the matter of Mr. Afoko. So I'm not sure whether, in keeping with their penchant for disciplining people these days, out of nowhere, they will call Alex to the disciplinary committee. But of course, that is by the by. Of course, it shows that statement.
He's a lawyer too.
I understand. But Alex understands the point I'm making.
Thank you.
It shows that that statement was not sustainable. There's no way that if you sat on a program like this and the matter came up, you would decline comment. Okay. I mean, you have to comment in order to clarify the position of your party. Now, you see, again, there's no greater mistake of judgment or delusion of achievement for any MPP member to think that what has happened in their party is mere disagreement. I don't think that if they were just disagreeing, we would lose any sleep over the matter, because disagreement happens anyway. And my favorite example is your own production team. I'm sure even in deciding on the guests who should be on this show, there was disagreement. But at the end of the day, you agree to disagree, and this is the outcome of your deliberations. What has happened in the MPP is not mere disagreement. It is disastrous leadership offered by their flag bearer and his henchmen in the party that has brought them where they are. Listen, in the last 1.5 years alone, the police have had to rush to the MPP headquarters or other places 11 times. 11 times to avert further bloodshed. You see, Bridget.
But when my brother is making a point, listen.
Let me make my submission.
Bridget.
Yes. Let me make my submission.
Bridget.
One second,
Bridget.
One second. What do you want to say? What do you want
Unless
to say?
there are new rules for this
Bridget,
program.
with the greatest respect, normally, I don't have the nature of interrupting my brother.
Okay.
So why are you
But
interrupting?
if we are staying within the corners of what we're discussing, what is the Nana Akufo-Addo here?
Hey.
No.
What is the Nana
Alex,
Akufo-Addo
you are telling me
here?
that your flag
But
bearer
what
is
is the flag bearer and
One moment,
Bridget.
please.
if this is what we've been told to do, that everything you want to bring in Nanado. Why? What's wrong? Discuss it on merit.
No. Felix, when you started, you talked about
that has been his character, and it's not right.
No, you went, please. You gave.
No, I never went personal. Yes, I discussed the issue. But why?
You mentioned Nana Kuni-Addo and violence.
In that, I gave fact. Does it have evidence that it is Nanado who is causing this problem? Please, That is the issue. He's creating some mischief.
Okay, all right.
He didn't bring Nanabi here. Discuss the issue.
Bridget,
Yes,
I
please.
think politicians will always be politicians.
Okay, no, but he.
No,
let me
Let him go there.
Let
When you
me make my
mention
submission.
President Muhammad,
Let me
they
make
don't
my
take
submission.
kindly to it.
Let me make my submission. First of all,
No, it's not fair.
First of all, the MPP flag bearer is not above reproach. He is not above criticism. I repeat, what has happened in the MPP is a direct result of his disastrous leadership.
Well, what
It is
about
fair
the
comment.
state we
Why?
find ourselves
What
in
was
this
the
country?
nexus between the oil price and the discussion we were having about Mr. Pola? Did you not chip it in? So if you're
No, but you are not being fair.
what do you mean I'm not being fair?
Anytime we
Listen,
have the
listen, what do you mean? I reserve the right.
Listen, we are
Listen,
good friends.
Alex,
I would not want to
Alex.
run down
Ah,
President
I'm not running
Muhammad
him down.
because we are
Alex,
discussing
listen,
and he's the leader of the country.
you
No,
see,
he
you are
he
doing-
has to stop
you are
that
doing
one.
your flag
It's
bearer
not fair.
no good.
No, it's
You are
not
doing
like
your
no.
flag bearer
You
no
want
good.
today you
are
have
creating the
Bridget,
pressure.
today you
Alex,
have
he's
some.
above reproach.
Alex,
The man is
today
being
he's
But
being
you say
unfair.
it's not here. You yourself
No,
said
but
it.
he
No,
should
he
stop
said
it. He should stop it.
Alex,
Discuss the
taking
issue,
it
but
for
why do you go attack the flag bearer of the party? That has been your nature.
Alex,
It's not
please.
fair.
Alex,
your
what is
flag
not
bearer
fair is that you had the opportunity
is not
to speak.
above
He was
reproach.
quiet. Please.
No,
you
but,
had the
but
opportunity to
when
speak.
this,
He was
this is a
quiet.
point of order.
No.
This is a point of order.
Thank you.
And I'm
It's
saying
well
that he should
made that
discuss,
you are-
stay out of the flag bearer attack. That is not right. He should stop
I'm
it.
saying your flag bearer showed staggering incompetence. That is why you are in the state you are in. He is not above reproach. Okay? If in opposition, you are saying that people cannot criticize him, then you are telling the
Nobody has
public
said so.
that he has absolutely no business coming near the president. Even the president of this country is criticized. So I am going to criticize your flag bearer, and you are going to have to put up with it. Listen, when you have a party that has a leader and yet falls in the turmoil that the MPP has fallen in, nobody can tell me that the leader is not to be blamed. In the last 1.5
But
years,
he didn't instigate.
listen,
this.
I'm telling you
I mean,
that.
these
Listen,
are party
Bridget,
people. For
Bridget,
instance,
Bridget,
if party
Bridget,
people started,
Bridget,
you know, a press conference,
Bridget,
how is that Nanado's
Bridget,
fault?
President Mama does not go into people's homes to switch off their lights, and yet when lights go off, people hold him responsible. There's a reason why leaders are elected, and I'm saying that if you have a party in which two people can be murdered in the manner in which their Upper East Regional Chairman and the gentleman as also were murdered, you cannot extricate the leader from blame. If you have a party whose headquarters becomes the bastion of lawlessness, where
So you don't think that Mr. Polakoko is better and he's going on trying to also
let me make my
take the
analysis.
shine
Listen,
of-
let me make my
of-
analysis.
of
Let me make my
PPP.
analysis. I'm telling you that we were in this country when the national chairman, Mr. Fuku, and Mr. Kwabena Japan, then general secretary, were holding a press conference. Members of the MPP who are known entered the national headquarters and attacked them. They were brandishing machetes and other offensive weapons. We have all been witnesses to the clashes,
Okay,
the
but-
violence that has
but
happened in that
Felix,
party.
so answer
You
my
see,
question.
You see, what has happened in the
Is
MPP is
Polakoko
simple.
not
Listen,
better?
listen. What has happened in the MPP is simple. Mr. Afoko and the others who disagree with the flag bearer have become the victims of a vendetta.
We don't know that for a
Oh,
fact.
listen. Look at the basis upon which Mr. Afoko was suspended. Among other complaints, he and Mr. Kwabena Japan spoke about the party publicly and brought the party into disrepute. Go into the records and see whether Mr. Freddie Blay and Mr. Abankwa Yeboah, the treasurer or national treasurer, have not also publicly spoken about the party and brought them into disrepute. How is it that Haji Afati can attack Kwabena Japan and damage his vehicle and is not punished? Who
But
in the
how-
MPP?
but how
Listen,
is that?
listen. But I'm telling you that the standard must be fair. Okay, the platform must be level. If indeed you were bringing disciplinary action against party members, everybody who has misconducted himself ought to be punished. Why? You have a party whose member of parliament can call for the killing of Gans and is hailed. No disciplinary action is
But
taken
he
against
came
them.
out to clarify.
No,
it.
he
came
clarified
out to
nothing.
clarify.
Bridget, there was no clarification. We heard him clearly calling for the killing of Gans and
But I'm
Neves.
saying he came out. He has
Clarify
come
what?
out to
When you say
clarify.
that Gans and Neves
He
should be
has-
killed, what clarification
No,
is it? The point I
he
mean,
said-
listen, the point I'm making is that Mr. Afoko's, the sanctions imposed on him are not born out of a genuine desire to introduce discipline into the party. They are
Yes,
not
but
interested in
Mr.
that.
Polakoko
It is
is just
simply
one person.
Listen,
Like, you know,
no, but
Mr.
Mr. Afoko was elected
No.
by 5,000 delegates.
But I
in
want to make
Tabali.
a point. I want to make
Yeah,
a point.
make your
Mr. Polakoko is not just one person. The MPP is a huge party, as Mr.
But the party must be
and the
governed-
election is not hinged.
Listen,
the election is not
Bridget,
hinged on Mr.
Bridget,
Polakoko.
Bridget, the party must be governed by a set of principles.
That's
You
exactly. So they're
understand?
bringing discipline into the party.
I'm saying that that discipline is actually a vendetta that is masked as discipline. If it was just about discipline, they would sanction Mr. Freddie Blay and Mr. Abankwa Yeboah because they committed the same offenses, quote unquote, that Mr. Afoko and Mr. Japan are accused of.
all right.
So let us not
Thank you.
delude ourselves into
Dr.
thinking.
Egenin.
Let me land, please, because he interrupted you. And he spoke for almost 10
30
minutes.
seconds. Okay,
Yeah,
So
30
let the
seconds. I'm
MPP
giving
and
30
Alex
seconds.
not delude themselves. That merely coming to say that there's this. When was the last time you heard, since 1992 at the very least, have you heard of the killing of two party members over a disagreement? So it is not a disagreement, it's an implosion they've suffered. There's a party that is unable to prefer alternatives. They rather choose to double in violence when the people of Ghana are looking up to them to show that they can govern. And their flag bearer, more than anybody else, must bear responsibility. That is what Alex must be used to.
I have seen him, say, let's come prevail. He said things that
you say,
leaders
listen,
are supposed
listen,
to say.
Two things. It's a bit of two things. We all know that the people hounding Mr. Fuku and Mr. Ajapon are Danado supporters. They are his henchmen. Two, if indeed he said there should be calm and there was no calm, then it is a clear verdict on the kind of leadership that he is offering.
Okay, all right, Dr. Jenny Boateng. Well, yes, indeed, Mr. Paul Afoko voted for by delegates. He's had troubles. The party, I've heard the communications director of the NPP say, Nana Kumia say that, look, they want to bring discipline to the party. There are rules and regulations set to govern the party. And so if you have problem, whatever it is, go through that. And so they've taken the chairman, secretary, also through all of that. But for some, they see it as vendetta. They see it as calculated attacks at just, getting those people as, like Mr. Afoko puts it, factionism within the party. So get them out and let's go with the people who are more liked by certain people. And so to see Mr. Afoko go on this, is it just an act of someone who is bitter, or indeed he will have a big dent on the NPP?
All right, before I answer that, let me pass a comment on what I have just witnessed. Before this discussion, I think we talked about, we were off air, we were talking about questions asking why, Doc, you are not doing politics. I think I must say that even on air that I'm not so much happy with what I have witnessed here.
But doctor, political discussions, Let me
finish this.
You do political discussions.
Yes, you do political discussions.
You may not.
Doctor, please.
Doc, in politics,
Doctor,
that is our own area.
Let me finish this, after which I will come back to the issue. It's a political discussion, but I think politics...
It can be unpredictable.
Yes,
doctor.
It can be unpredictable, but there are certain things, in my opinion, that we shouldn't do. I'm not going to go into the details,
so just
but
go to my
it's not good, because politics is meant to serve the people, and we should always talk about facts. Don't let us deviate from issues.
Doctor, so one fact I would want is a question I asked you. If you could just answer that, thank you.
Let's go back to your question.
Yes.
MPP.
I think Felix has said, Professor, that don't deviate. I think that's what Professor just said.
MPP has...
I'm not sure that...
Yes,
no, that's what Professor just said.
You spoke about oil.
Professor just told you that you were diverting. That is what Prof has just given you good counsel.
No.
You should not do
we were talking about oil.
No, I think Prof has advised you. Once you are a weather doctor, in Ghana they say, once you are a university lecturer,
Doctor,
professor,
please,
that's it.
That's American. Okay.
That's American.
Let me say,
we
seem to know more about other political parties' weaknesses, but we don't deal with the weaknesses in our own political party. That's just a comment. But let's come to the issue of whether or not Paul Afoko, please, Felix, can I finish this? Let us finish.
We are very aware of how to manage our party. That is why
the best come here under the cloak of you want to be trained. We will respond. Which party you should be? No, factual discussions. Not a narrative we are making. What is the basis of your assessment? Let's follow. We want to follow you.
Let me finish. You are not listening to me. So how can
you? The IPP certainly is weak. They are in trouble. So there's Doc is factual.
The
NDC is strong.
This is it. When it comes to Paul Afoko, there is a constitution. The MPP as a party has got its own constitution. I will not be so much concerned with whatever went on, but I will be interested in whether or not MPP followed what is in their constitution, that Paul Afoko was voted to power by the people. If in their constitution there is, let's say, a clause somewhere to say that this is what has to be done to remove someone, and they have followed the process.
Interesting. Incidentally, there's a lawyer here. You can tell
Yeah,
us.
then I'll have no problem with that. But then, if they didn't follow the process and it has been through a different means in removing Paul Afoko, then that is an issue. I don't know much about law, but I think if we suspect that these things will happen. Whenever we write a constitution, let me finish. We suspect, we predict that some of these things could happen in future, and that we lay down rules and regulations as to how it should be governed. One other thing that I should possibly support, Honorable, in that regard is no individual will ever, and also from Felix also mentioned that, no individual will ever be bigger than the system or the party. So sometimes it could be that Paul Afoko is trying to bring reform and has got excellent ideas. But then if it so happens that his ideas are not ideas the other people or the party want, he may be absolutely right. But at the end, the party may decide not to go by those ideas. After all, when Copernicus started talking about the earth being spherical, he was seen as a madman. But later, it came out to be that the earth was spherical but not flat. So I'm trying to say that if I were Paul Afoko, I would sit back and watch what happens, because time will actually tell whether or not the removal of Paul Afoko was good or not.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
just a quick one.
Yes,
30 seconds.
with respect
Thank
to the constitutionality or otherwise, I believe that the different committee's decision, which went to NEC, and eventually when Mr. Afoko appealed to National Council,
Sure.
there was a statement that was issued out to the public.
Yes.
Certain provisions of the Constitution were quoted in extenso. So I believe that to the extent that the collective decision as taken was so fortified by the law, as interpreted by those in charge, same can be subjected to perhaps further interpretation. Because you and I know that what could be seen to be an express, unambiguous provision can lead to several interpretations. We've had the situation.
Constitutionally removing someone.
No. What I'm saying, the point. No. What I'm saying is that somebody may take a decision.
Sure.
Let's be very specific. In Paul Afoko's case,
Yes.
a decision was taken by the party, relying on certain provisions of the Constitution. He, as a matter of principle, disagree with that provision, those approach,
Sure.
and says that, look, rather there are some other provisions you should have relied on to do what you wanted to do. He has gone public to say that, look, for the sake of the constitutionality of our future conduct, he would want to test that provision in the law court, having exhausted all avenues in the party. To me, it's good for our democracy, okay? Because there would always be a debate. Anyway, we've had the situations in our Supreme Court where we thought may means may, that there's no obligation, not compelling and all that. But the Supreme Court had looked at context to give interpretation of what may could be and all that.
Quick one.
Mr. Afoko has challenged the decision of the MPP. Indeed, we are all aware of the processes that should lead up to somebody's suspension. He contends, and we all saw it, that due process was not followed. Again, I come back to the point of course. But you see, in any event,
They said we all agree.
of course, we all agree.
We all agree.
Of course.
Apart from the context.
I'm saying that we all agree that we know the processes. It is clear. It is stated black and white in the Constitution. But let me make my substantive point.
When you say
again,
the context, that's agreed. But if you say we all agree, who and who agree that the process was not followed?
And fair-minded
One.
fair-minded Ghanaians know that you've not followed due process. You see, I made the point earlier about principle and equality before the law. Why? Only as recently as 17 December, the Ablekuma South constituency chairperson led a group of thugs to go and disrupt a press conference being held by Mr. Tokwashi, ostensibly because he was going to criticize the flag bearer. They engaged in acts of violence, destroyed chairs and other paraphernalia at the meeting venue. Yet, here's the MPP that claims that it enforces discipline and it disciplines people. They are unable to call this chairman and discipline him and sanction him for bringing the party's image into disrepute. Unless they are telling me that the violent conduct of the MPP tax, led by the constituency chairman, enhanced the image of the MPP. So where is the standard? Where is the fairness? Where is the principle in the MPP? That's why I'm telling you that this is a leadership crisis that stems directly from the mismanagement of that party by their leader. Otherwise,
Okay, so let's.
But
not have any
Nanato has
difficulty.
been a leader since 2007.
yes, and the party
No,
has
hold
moved
on, hold on,
since then.
hold on.
Your
hold on.
fortunes have
That-
declined since
please,
then.
please, please.
You have moved from an
Please, please.
from
please.
an 8 region advantage into a 1.5 region disadvantage. In other words, when
Is that-
we
is-
got to
that's
2000,
not factual.
oh no, this is factual. Listen, how many regions did they win under President Kufuor in 2004? They won Central Region, they won Afro Region. When Anadu became leader, go and check. Now they are trailing in 8.5 regions. In the Eastern Region, which is his background and supposed stronghold, we have shared the votes with them. Then he has Ashanti Region. All other regions he is lost. So go and check the fortunes of the party since Anadu became leader. It has dwindled. And it is not getting any better. It is getting worse. Such that now violence
But
is
how,
the
how
preferred
is that?
means of
How,
conflict
but how
resolution.
is that? Like the same way we're talking about Mr. Afoka as an individual. How is that Nanado,
Listen,
an individual, one
listen,
person?
it's a
as the-
Bridget, political parties don't elect leaders so that they are just props that they take to elections. When you are elected leader, you assume a management role. You are the figurehead. You are the person upon whom everybody looks to manage the affairs of the party. Now, when you take sides or you instigate people to engage in acts of lawlessness in the party against persons who are critical of your style of leadership, I don't think that you can mount a moral high ground and say you are a leader.
Okay.
So
let's-
he cannot
let's move
extricate
on to-
himself from blame. In fact, if he did, what it meant is that then he should not be president because he won't take responsibility for our problems.
So
Yes.
let's move
Bridget,
on to-
let me respond quickly to
Penyo
that.
marking.
In a presidential election, we have one constituency. In 2008, we had 2 elections in the first place, before we had a third, which is a 10. In round 1, Nanado won majority of votes.
It doesn't count.
In round 1, we had round 2 in this country. Eventually, we had to use a 10 to decide. So for him to conclude that the party's fortunes dwindled under Nanado isn't there here nor there.
It's true.
In 2012, the party fiercely contested the result of 2012 elections, which ended up at the Supreme Court.
And it was dismissed
So
for its lack of
he
merit.
should not.
It was dismissed for its lack of merit.
In
It cannot be an
2012, the
excuse.
Supreme Court gave a split decision.
It
So
wasn't
he
a
should
split
not.
decision. You
He
lost.
should not.
Why?
In
Bridget,
any way.
Bridget, I'm
come
saying
here
that let
to
him answer the
mislead
question. How
viewers
many regions
that
did the MPP win?
Nanado's for we were dealing with issues of violence.
No.
He said
Uh-huh.
that
Mhm.
since
You have 10
Nanado
seconds. You have 10
became
seconds.
very well, since
Your
Nanado
rhetoric
became the
has
leader,
been dark.
we've been having
All
problems.
that
I'm saying
you
that the man has
Yaya
been a
Kamfo
flag bearer.
since
He's been
2007.
able to work with his executives. The second time he was able to work with executives. If there is a perceived issue today, don't go and nail it on him.
But
That
why
the man
don't
doesn't
Don't
want
go and
something.
nail it
What's
on.
the
Thank you
nail
very
it
much.
on? Me?
We'll move
So
on
Bridget,
now.
okay, now blame me for the MPP's
The
problems.
Finder newspaper
Bridget.
has a story. I
Bridget,
think
blame me for
it's
the
also
MPP's
tied.
problems now. Blame me.
A similar story like that, in the Daily Graphic. So we're looking at the Finder newspaper and the Daily Graphic, probably our final subject for the morning. And it says here, fuel taxes to bag 3.9 billion cedis. Of course, new taxes alone constitute 3.2 billion. And the Daily Graphic newspaper here says that government clears 3.8 billion statutory debt. So explain to us, Felix, what
Well,
will this do?
Well, you see, first of all, let me say that from the standpoint of government, we are fully aware that any increase of this nature imposes additional, if you like,
You mean the
obligations.
taxes?
Yeah, imposes additional obligations on consumers. And certainly, it is not fun paying taxes. Nonetheless, it is a necessary step that we need to take in order to ensure that we ensure the financial viability of some of our utility companies, because they have been distressed for about 15 years. Going back to the late 90s, they've been incurring huge debts because of the unsustainable way in which they operate. VRA, for instance, produces electricity at a cost of 32 cents per kilowatt hour. And yet they sell it at 21 cents per kilowatt hour. So they incur a loss of 12 cents per kilowatt hour. It is not a sustainable business model. For that reason, they are not able to even break even, let alone rake in profits to be able to invest in their operations so that they give us stable, reliable electricity generation. Now, the difference is supposed to be made up by subsidy payments. successive governments have been unable to do it because of budgetary constraints. So we have lingered in between financial unsustainability and the need to continue to produce and supply electricity. So this energy levy, which has been introduced, is supposed to allow us generate revenue to retire on a permanent basis what we call the legacy debt in the energy sector, specifically in the electricity subsector. Because you can go back and check. As far back as 2008, VRA had a debt of over 500 million Ghana cedis. It has compounded. Now, the debt totals $1.4 billion for all the utilities, Gridco, VRA, ECG. ECG alone is indebted to the tune of 1.4 billion Ghana cedis. And it is substantially impeding their performance as a corporation. Therefore, if they are going to be able to get out of this vicious cycle and work in a way that meets our satisfaction, then there's a need to retire it. Now, let me also indicate that there's also the road fund, which has been in arrest. In 2008, because of inadequate funding, they went to borrow large sums of money from SNIT that they were unable to pay. In 2010, a similar thing occurred. They owe contractors about 300 million Ghana cedis, which they need to retire. Added to the fact that they are only able to cover 50% of the road network in terms of maintenance and repair and what have you. So there's certainly the need to build them out. So a part of this energy level would also go there. Then there's street lighting and then issues to do with toll and other debts that are part in the energy sector. Let me also indicate that there has been some misunderstanding about the movement of oil prices. You see, since the introduction of the deregulation policy, sometime in May, if I'm not mistaken, fuel prices have dropped by 37%. So even with this 28% increase, there's at least a 9% gap that exists between the prices as of the time we're introducing deregulation and the time that we introduce this levy. Okay. And therefore, whereas we know that it will impose additional obligations on the consumer, it is certainly below the deregulation level. And so we expect that with this information,
Doctor,
we will achieve understanding and we'll be able
what
to.
do you say?
I think some of the statistics can sometimes be somehow misleading.
Okay.
If you talk about the energy sector as a whole, the issue has not always been on the generation. The issue has been whether or not, we have had both technical and commercial losses from ECG, for example, unable to collect debts. Of the debt that Felix is talking about, which percentage is coming from the government? 60%. And because of that, we don't have the money. So if the government should even pay their debt to the utility services, then they should be fine. So these increases we're talking about, I was giving a lecture yesterday on Ghana energy crisis to the Ghana Medical Association last evening. And it has to do with comparing the prices we are paying. In Ghana, with the new increased value of electricity to 59.2% or so, we are now paying about 17 cents per kilowatt hour. Compared to the developed countries, Italy is paying 15 cents. Sorry, if it is dollar, it's cents, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, cents per kilowatt hour. South Africa is paying 9.8. Google this and you find it so easily. So if you compare even how much we are paying per kilowatt hour, it's higher than what the advanced countries pay. So the argument of we all buy from the same place, we all buy oil from the same source, and that we should pay more. I was a proponent of paying more for this. But upon seeing this, I think I'm beginning to think again.
The new taxes that
the
have been
new
levied?
taxes, because it's taking us beyond even what Italians, USA, and other countries are paying. So with these increases, we should know that.
But the debts must be clear. So how do you think government should go about it?
I think that
apart from, you've mentioned an important element. If government pays its own debts, yes. How do you think we can?
I think we should rather support the country. For example, this is personal opinion. Okay. I believe that power ministry, for example, shouldn't have been created at all. Okay. I believe that we should have had a technical unit, and I've been calling for this. A technical unit that will report directly. Felix, maybe I'll go through you. Mm-hmm. A technical unit that should report directly to the president. We did this in 1982 to 1984 when we had the first energy crisis in this country. Rawlings came up with a research team. They recommended the construction of Abuaze. They recommended a lot of things. Even by then, they talked about West Africa gas pipeline in 1995. So if we begin to think this way and solve the problem technically, at the moment, it's not about MPP, it's not about NDC. I think they are all doing politics with the energy and its issues. And I think we should stop this. Let's do technical solution because
But we have the technical men. I mean, I've heard
we've got the technical men about the problem in Ghana.
We don't lack experts.
We don't, but do they talk? Or do they actually communicate? How many times will you have somebody from ECG actually explaining from head to toe what is actually happening? They won't talk.
Because I've heard from others. I mean, I've heard, I
Yeah.
think Dr. People say, some of them have very poor communication skills. So,
Oh,
I mean, explaining.
because
they are technical.
you can write.
Like you said,
you
they
can
are
write.
technical. Yes,
you can
someone else
write.
has
That
to
is a
explain
form
what
of
they write.
communication. So for me, I think what I think we should be doing, apart from the government paying its debt, we should also look at various energy sources. I think the energy sources that we are trying to go in here, it's not sustainable.
Okay.
We are talking about coal. We don't have it. West Africa gas pipeline. Gas from Nigeria has not helped. So why do we think about coal? Nuclear safety issues. We can't do that. The only way that we can solve the energy problems in Ghana will be through solar.
Okay.
And it is not the solar we know. It is solar thermal. Google it. The same day that I think this America Power arrived in Ghana, that same day Morocco was launching
yes, that's one
680 megawatts of solar.
I know about that.
This is something that we should be thinking about rather than just doing politics with the energy. MPP, NDC, they are all doing politics with our energy situation.
All right.
And they should solve.
Thank you, Doc.
Yeah, Billy,
Doc.
before Alex comes in, let me correct. Oh, is that a factual
Well, okay,
question?
all
It's not it is not accurate that government owes 60% of the debt that these companies have. Government actually, the part of the debt that is owed by government is 29%. The total debt is here. It's 4.5 billion Ghana cedis. And government owes 1.3 billion out of it. The remainder has arisen.
So government should pay that one.
Of course, government is paying. In fact,
your opportunity.
ECG owes government more than government owes it. But of course,
Okay,
we acknowledge that we need
because
to
you
build
said
them.
investments
Yes,
into
absolutely.
equipment
Yeah,
and
it is
all
true.
But
We invest
this
in them,
is,
we give them loans, and they don't pay.
This is
Not to respond to the doctor's comment, but just
I'm not.
No, by time
This is
no, because you don't have a lot of time. Yes, 2 minutes.
an old song, new dance attitude of this government.
Oh, they're singing to the choir.
That we owe. You impose taxes. You demonstrate insensitivity. Already Ghanaians have endured about 6 years of doom. So you are in your 8th year. This government, NDC 2,
That
is in its
not been
8th year.
6 years. It is false.
NDC 2 is in its 8th
During
year.
when you were in court petition, we had like
We are in the 8th year of the NDC administration.
It cannot be 6 years.
And more than 6 years, or we are in the 6th year of doom. Now, it is the only government in power. And if there is any politics, it is this same government that is playing politics. You know, last year, when they went to the commercial market to raise funds, the $1 billion...
You have said this here before.
Yes. They themselves acknowledged that the energy situation is unsustainable in the prospectus. They didn't give condition. They said one of the risk factors that they could not assure the investing public of a sustainable energy supply. Power situation is not going to be sustainable. Yet you come and tell the Ghanaian public that you are putting in remedial measures to solve the problem and that over a period there will be no doom. Do we know why the power minister had to resign? Because he gave a deadline. And same was endorsed by the government. And when it was becoming embarrassing, they said, okay, you resign to save the government face. Today, you are giving us an explanation, a reason for increasing taxes. What is that? That you owe. There is some debt to be paid. We've heard this over and over again. Is it the first time we are being given this excuse? When they increased salaries and government was all over the place, single spine, we've increased salaries. Government should come back and tell us, ever since salaries went up under the single spine, how many taxes they've imposed, the burden that Ghanaians are going through, paying school fees.
So this is needless. I mean,
What are they talking
that's what
about?
you're saying.
If you're unable to solve the problem, you don't get up and create a new ministry. You don't get up and blame it on technical men, because Mr. President once publicly blamed the power crisis on technical men. That is based on the advice that he's been also given assurance to. He's also been given assurance to Ghanaians.
As to the deadline.
Of course, but as we speak, when is Dumso going to end? Can they tell
It
us?
hasn't improved in your. But
Please,
your
we are not
region,
talking
that's your
about-
region. Go off.
With the greatest respect, we are not talking improvement. Are we talking improvement or an end to Dumso? People have lost their business.
I was actually asking you a personal
No,
question.
I am not in government. The government has publicly committed itself to an end to Dumso. Mr. President, in his State of the Nation address, said, I am going to fix it.
Absolutely.
Now,
Thank you.
he didn't say he's going to improve.
Unlike some flag bearer who won't
That
take
is what the
responsibility for
president
anything.
said.
All right.
So we want the president to fix it.
All right.
And it's not
Thank
about
you.
improving it.
All right. Thank you, Alex Apenyo-Martin. Right.
Really, if I
This
may-
month.
oh, you are done.
Unfortunately,
your
we've
time is
run out
limited.
of time.
Your time
Yes,
is
we've
limited.
actually exceeded
Otherwise,
the
I was
time.
going to point out that the
No.
point on which he landed is very instructive. He said that the president.
But
said, "I will
as
fix
the
it."
president
that
ever-
is responsibility.
All right, thank
Somebody
you.
is- Unlike
you,
as a
who doesn't
member
want to
Member
take
of
responsibility for his
Parliament
flag bearer.
for
There's a clear
Ifutu,
difference between the two.
lawyer, legal practitioner, member of Parliament for
Nice
Ifutu,
meeting you,
Alex
Doc.
Apenyo-Martin. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. You'll be hot this morning. Of course,
No, you know,
Minister of
they think that by talking about
feel it.
LGBT, they are going to win.
I'm talking.
Oh, but
I
we
won't-
analyze
But
it.
why
Um,
did you
Philip,
Oh yeah, stay like a
why did you allow
And also Dr. Janine Boateng here, Ghana Technology, right?
Yeah,
University
technology.
College. Thank you very much
Nice
for
one.
joining us.